Hi, I'm Amy Privet, the attorney for Privet Legacy Planning, and welcome to the first video in the series, The 5 Ps of Revocable Living Trusts. We're going to be talking about what benefits a revocable living trust has to offer estate planning clients above and beyond just what you might get with a will. And the first P is privacy. You may not know this, but when someone passes away and a probate file has to be opened at the courthouse, everything that is filed as part of that probate case is a public record. And having a last will and testament is not enough to keep you out of probate. Probate is required when you have a will and when you have no documents of any sort. You will go through, or your estate will go through the probate process. And when we're going to the courthouse, everything is made public. You know this, again, without maybe necessarily being aware of it, because every time a celebrity dies, there is a news report about who this person included in their will, who they may have left out of their will. There's even news reports that say this person had no will. And this isn't because TMZ is, or Extra is paying money and bribing reporters to share information. This is because all of it is public record, and they just have to send someone down to the courthouse and they can get all of the information about this person's estate. Well, you and I were not celebrities, so there's probably not going to be a mad rush to the courthouse to get copies of our documents, but that information is readily available to anyone who might be curious enough or bored enough to check out the assets that you had when you passed. Now, in the grand scheme of things, if the will was the only document that was made public record, I probably could live with that a little bit better, because most of us, our wills are not going to shock anybody. Our will probably says, I leave everything to my husband or wife if they're still living. If they're not living, I leave it to my kids if I have kids. Unless you have some salacious secrets out there, your will probably isn't going to shock anybody. But it's not just the will that is public record. When we're going through the probate process, there are a number of inventories and accountings that have to be filed with the courthouse. Those inventories have to catalog everything that you own. How much is your house worth? How much do you have in your checking and your savings and your money market? Do you own any savings bonds? Do you have stocks and investments? How much is your IRA worth? How much is your stuff worth? Your collectibles, your furniture, your electronics, your guns, your knife collection, your stamp collection, your jewelry. About the only thing that we do not have to give a dollar amount for is life insurance. They just ask, does this person have life insurance? But we don't have to catalog how much that life insurance is worth. But everything else has to be itemized. And the court is not going to take your word for that value. It's not enough to say, I have $1,000 in the bank. They're going to want a bank statement that proves you have $1,000 in the bank. It's not enough to say, I have a $100 ring. They're going to want a jewelry appraisal that proves that ring is worth $100. And again, all of that information is available to the public after your death. And if you have kids, young kids at home, that may be a lot of information about the size of an inheritance that they're getting ready to receive that you may not want other people to know. Your 16-year-old daughter, your 18-year-old son, or your 22-year-old child, there are people that will come into their life and try to take advantage of them because they have just inherited this sum of money. So, one of the big keys that a trust has to offer you is privacy. Imagine that this bowl of Hershey Kisses is your assets that you own. And if you have a will, and if you go through probate, the world is going to know how many Hershey Kisses you have and to whom you're giving those Hershey Kisses. But if you have a revocable living trust, all of that information is private, and nobody knows that you have a trust. And if nobody knows you have a trust, nobody knows what's in your trust. So one of the biggest benefits that a revocable living trust has to offer estate planning clients, and our first P in this series, is privacy.